Valentine's Day is on Friday, and that has us looking at relationships and how they can often get complicated. When you marry, you pledge to love one another for richer or poorer. Now, it sounds bleak, but finances consistently rank within the top 10 reasons why marriages break up. It's a situation Caval Olson-LePage is familiar with. She's a certified financial planner and a team leader with Affinity Credit Union in Saskatoon and joins me now. Caval, why can money be such a stumbling block for couples?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that come into play. First and foremost is that money is a really sensitive topic. We're told growing up that it's rude to talk about it. You don't introduce yourself to someone and say, hi Sam, my name's Caval and I make such and such money a year. How much do you make? That's just something that we don't talk about. You then add in a complication of, your perception of money. Maybe you don't feel like you have enough, so you don't want to talk about it because you don't want to be judged. Or maybe it comes from the other perspective in which you feel like you're doing quite well, but you don't want to talk about it because you don't want to come across as bragging about how well you're doing. Then you add in a partner situation that you could have opposing personalities when it comes to money, such as myself and my husband. He's more of a saver, whereas I'm more of a spender, and that can breed into a lot of conflict for couples.
What are some different ways that people can approach managing money together?
Well, when we think about the traditional joint account, that's really not something that a lot of couples are doing these days. Previously you saw both sets of income going into one main account, then you saw all those expenses coming out of that account, and then, whatever was left over the couple had to share. Now what we're seeing more and more is that each partner will have their own separate bank account, and now they're just sharing expenses into maybe one singular account where their mortgage comes out of and their bills. This can cause issues, especially if the income levels aren't equal.
So what would you say the best way is to take that conflict or those issues out of finances?
Well, first and foremost, the major one is communication. What we find is that as soon as conflict enters into it, both partners tend to shut down and just not talk about it, right? So that leads to situations where maybe now someone's spending a little bit more and they're not really talking about it to their partner, or maybe another partner is putting a lot of pressure to save, so the one who wants to spend a little bit more breeds resentment. So we really need to establish that communication. For myself and my husband, we've went through multiple different scenarios on what actually works for us. Before we had children, we had fairly similar income levels, so that 50-50 splitting of everything worked until I went on maternity leave and my income was cut drastically. Then we saw that we went to a more proportional income, paying for expenses. So at that point, my income was about 40% of the household income, so I only paid for about 40% of the expenses. Really, it's that communication and it's that awareness of what's going on. What are the expenses coming out on a monthly basis? What are the long term for the year? And having that open dialogue. It's not just a once and done conversation.
Caval, thanks so much for this.
You're very welcome.
Caval Olson-LePage is a certified financial planner and a team lead with Affinity Credit Union in Saskatoon.